Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bowie Around the World, a special segment on Bowie and Luna Learn English, where I, Bowie, talk about interesting news and important topics from around the world. Today, I'm sitting here looking out the window, and honestly, I'm feeling worried. The planet is changing, and not in a good way. We need to talk about global warming, what it is, how it started, and what's happening right now because of it. But first, if you're enjoying this podcast, please give us a like or a pause up. And don't forget to subscribe to Bowie and Luna Learn English channel. Your support helps us make more videos for you. Hit that subscribe button right now. All right, let's begin. I'll explain everything in simple English so everyone can understand. Are you ready? Let's go.
So, what exactly is global warming? Let me explain this in the simplest way possible. Global warming is the increase in Earth's average temperature. The planet is getting hotter and hotter every year, and this is not a natural change. It's caused by us, by human activities. Now, to understand how this works, we need to talk about Earth's atmosphere. The atmosphere is like an invisible blanket made of gases that covers our planet. This blanket contains different gases, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, that we breathe, and small amounts of other gases like carbon dioxide and methane. Some of these gases have a special ability. They can trap heat from the sun. We call them greenhouse gases. The main greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, we write it as CO2, methane, and water vapor. These gases work like a blanket, keeping Earth warm enough for life to exist. This is called the greenhouse effect. Let me give you an example. You know when you park your car in the sun all day? When you come back and open the door, wow, it's super hot inside. The car windows let sunlight in, but trap the heat inside. The greenhouse effect works exactly the same way. The atmosphere lets the sun's energy in, but greenhouse gases trap some of this heat, keeping Earth warm. And here's the important part. The greenhouse effect is natural and good. We need it. Without it, Earth would be frozen and life couldn't exist. The problem starts when we add too many greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. Then too much heat gets trapped and the planet gets too hot. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So how did this problem start? Well, the story begins in the 1700s with something called the Industrial Revolution. Before this time, humans lived in a way that didn't produce many greenhouse gases. But then we discovered we could burn coal to produce energy and power machines. Burning coal releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And as factories grew, as more machines were built, and as more cities developed, we burned more and more coal. Then came oil and gasoline for cars, trucks, and planes. All of this releases CO2 into the air. Let me show you some numbers. Before the Industrial Revolution, around the year 1750, the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere was about 280 parts per million. We write this as 280 ppm. This level had been stable for thousands of years. But after we started burning fossil fuels, that's coal, oil, and gas, the CO2 levels started rising. By 1950, it reached 310 ppm. By 2000, it was 370 ppm. In 2013, for the first time in human history, it crossed 400 ppm. And today, in 2025, we're approaching 430 ppm. The numbers just keep going up and up. Scientists have studied this very carefully. They've looked at thousands of studies from around the world, and their conclusion? There's between 90 and 100% certainty that humans are responsible for global warming. That's basically 100%. We caused this problem. But it's not just CO2. We're also releasing methane into the atmosphere. Methane comes from cattle farms, yes, from cows, from rice fields, from landfills, and from leaking gas pipes. Methane is even more powerful than CO2 at trapping heat. It's about 20 times stronger. In the last 200 years, the amount of methane in the atmosphere has more than doubled. So basically, for more than 250 years, we've been taking carbon that was safely stored underground or inside trees, burning it, and throwing it into the atmosphere. We're changing the natural balance of gases in the air, and now the planet is responding to this change by getting warmer and warmer.
Now, let's talk about what's actually happening because of global warming. These are not predictions about the future. These things are happening right now, today, as I'm talking to you. First, temperatures are breaking records everywhere. In 2021, Canada, a cold country, registered the highest temperature in its entire history. Portland and Seattle in the United States also broke heat records. And get this, in 2020, Antarctica reached 18 degrees Celsius. Antarctica! You could wear a t-shirt there. And 2024 was confirmed as the hottest year ever recorded in human history. But guess what? 2025 is on track to be even hotter. Almost every month this year has broken temperature records. We're living through the hottest period in recorded human history right now. Second, we're seeing extreme weather events like never before. Powerful hurricanes and storms are becoming more frequent and more destructive. In 2021, Germany and Belgium experienced the deadliest floods in decades. These countries have had heavy rain before, but nothing like this. The rain lasted much longer and was much more intense than anything seen in previous years. We're also seeing devastating wildfires. In 2024, massive fires burned in Canada, Greece, and other countries. These weren't normal forest fires. They were monster fires that destroyed entire towns and released enormous amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere, making the problem even worse. Third, droughts are becoming more severe and lasting longer. Many regions that used to have regular rainfall are now experiencing water shortages. Brazil faced one of its worst droughts ever in 2024. Rivers that used to flow all year round are drying up. Farmers can't grow crops. People don't have enough water to drink. This is happening right now. Fourth, the glaciers and ice sheets are melting at an alarming rate. Greenland is losing about 10,000 cubic meters of ice every single second. Can you imagine that? Every second. In the last 20 years, Greenland has lost an average of 152 billion tons of ice per year. And here's something scary. Ice is white, so it reflects sunlight back to space. But when ice melts, it exposes dark soil or dark ocean water. Dark surfaces absorb heat instead of reflecting it. So the melting ice makes Earth even warmer, which melts more ice, which makes Earth even warmer. It's a dangerous cycle that keeps getting worse. Fifth, sea levels are rising. Why? Because when ice melts on land, that water flows into the oceans, and when water gets warmer, it expands and takes up more space. Scientists say that just 1 meter of sea level rise happens, about 120 million people worldwide will lose their homes. Cities near the ocean will be underwater. And if all of Greenland's ice melts, sea levels could rise 7 meters. That would be catastrophic. It's a dangerous cycle that keeps getting worse. Sixth, the oceans are getting warmer and more acidic. The oceans absorb about 1/3 of all the CO2 we release. This makes ocean water more acidic, like adding vinegar to water. And this is killing coral reefs. You know those beautiful, colorful corals you see in pictures? They're dying. Scientists call this coral bleaching. The corals turn white and die. Why should we care about corals? Because about 25% of all marine life depends on coral reefs. Fish, octopuses, sea turtles. So many species live in and around coral reefs. And about 1 billion people depend on coral reefs for food and their livelihood. When the corals die, all of this disappears. The acidic water is also killing shellfish like oysters, clams, and mussels. These animals need to build shells from calcium carbonate, but in acidic water, they can't do it properly. Their shells become weak and they die. This affects the entire ocean food chain. Seventh, many species of plants and animals are struggling to survive. Climate change is happening too fast. Species don't have time to adapt to the new conditions. Amphibians like frogs and toads are especially vulnerable because they're very sensitive to temperature changes. Scientists estimate we could lose up to 40% of amphibian species by 2100 if temperatures keep rising. Plants are flowering at the wrong times. This confuses animals that depend on these plants for food. Birds arrive at their breeding grounds but find no food because the plants flowered too early. Everything in nature is connected, and global warming is breaking these connections. Eighth, there's something even more scary hiding under the melting ice. Under the frozen ground in the Arctic, there are huge amounts of methane trapped in the soil. As the ground thaws, this methane is released into the atmosphere. Remember, methane is 20 times more powerful than CO2 at trapping heat. So this creates another dangerous cycle. Warming causes ice to melt, which releases methane, which causes more warming, which melts more ice. It's like a climate time bomb.
Now, let's talk about how all of this affects people, real human beings like you and me. In 2024 alone, extreme weather events caused economic damage of over $300 billion worldwide. That's money spent rebuilding after floods, fighting fires, and helping people who lost their homes. But it's not just about money. Thousands of people are dying from extreme heat waves every year. In 2024, several countries experienced heat waves where temperatures were so high that people, especially elderly people and children, died from heat stroke. In some cities, it became too hot to go outside during the day. Farmers are losing their crops because of unpredictable weather. Sometimes there's too much rain and floods destroy everything. Sometimes there's drought and nothing grows. This means less food and higher food prices. Poor people suffer the most because they can't afford the more expensive food. And here's something important. The countries that contributed the least to global warming are often the ones suffering the most. Small island nations in the Pacific are literally disappearing under rising seas. African countries are experiencing severe droughts even though they produce very little CO2. This isn't fair, but it's the reality we're facing.
So, where do we stand right now in 2025? Well, scientists are more worried than ever. They're telling us we only have a few years left to make big changes, or we'll reach a point of no return, a point where we can't stop the warming even if we try. The good news is that world leaders are meeting right now at COP30 in Brazil to discuss what to do. Countries are making promises to reduce their emissions and switch to clean energy. But the question is, will they actually keep these promises? History shows us that countries are often slow to act. The other good news is that we have the technology to fix this. Solar panels, wind turbines, electric cars, these all exist today, and they're getting better and cheaper. We know what we need to do. We just need the will to do it. But we need to act fast. Every year we delay makes the problem harder to solve and more expensive to fix. The consequences we're seeing now, the heat waves, the floods, the melting ice, these will only get worse if we don't act immediately. So that's the story of global warming, everyone. It started with the Industrial Revolution when we began burning fossil fuels. It got worse as we built more factories, drove more cars, and consumed more energy. And now we're living with the consequences.
rising temperatures, extreme weather, melting ice, and rising seas. But here's what I want you to remember. This is not just a story about doom and gloom. Yes, the situation is serious. Yes, we need to act now. But we can fix this if we work together. Every action counts, no matter how small. You can help by learning about this issue and talking to others about it. You can make changes in your own life. Use less energy, waste less, walk or bike when possible, and most importantly, you can demand that your leaders take real action to address this crisis. The future is in our hands. We created this problem, and we can solve it. But we need to act now. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something today, please hit that like button or give us a paws up. Share this video with your friends because everyone needs to understand what's happening to our planet. And don't forget to subscribe to Bowie and Luna Learn English for more educational content. Leave a comment below. Tell me, what did you learn today? What surprised you the most? I really want to know what you think. This is Bowie, signing off. Remember, knowledge is power, and now you have the knowledge. Use it wisely. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.